Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I wanted to bring a short reminder to the people. Hopefully, it'll make allow some people to feel a little better about their situation, or be a reminder that'll benefit them. Because as you can see, just worldwide, the Muslims is going through some serious turmoil. And then even in places where the Muslims may not particularly be going through turmoil, there may be a lot of differences and splitting within their communities or within their cities. Just a lot of different bickering and fighting, so this is still turmoil. So I want to share a couple of ayats and tafsirs on some ayats so that we can understand why Allah is testing us. So when you look at the word test, when you take a test, you can pass the test or you can fail the test. Now there's tests we're familiar with grades. Your A, B, C, D, depending on where you at and how they grade test. But we just gonna leave it on you can pass or you can fail. So with our test, on the passing of those tests, you're rewarded by Allah Azza wa Jal al-Muqtadir. But if you fail those tests, then there's punishments, there's chastisement or chastisement, however you word it. There's different things that come from Allah. So individuals, we need to learn the difference between being tested by Allah and being punished by Allah. Because usually if you end up on the reward end, that's still a test to see how you're going to handle that reward. Just like if you being punished by Allah, that's still a test also, because both instances might cause you to turn away from Allah. Like, you might have a life so good that you might forget about Allah, or you might be on the punishment end and life done became so hard and you're going through so much, you might forget about Allah. You might leave Islam. You might start to have shubuhat. You might start to doubt Allah and His deen. Like I've heard Muslims say stuff like, man, I've been doing all this praying, I've been doing all this, and Allah don't do nothing for me. You breathing, you can blink your eyes, you can go to sleep, you can wake up. You're not in a hospital bed hooked up to tubes. You know what I'm saying? But because they ain't got $1 million mansion, and they keep praying for it, Allah ain't doing nothing for them. I'm doing all this praying for nothing. You supposed to be praising Allah. So you got to look at it this way, though, man. You pass or you fail. On the passing end, you're rewarded. When you're rewarded, you need to be grateful. Because when you look at Quran ayahs and they speak on how Allah does for the Muslims, or we in a situation and Allah pull us out of those situations, we become ungrateful. So let me get to these ayats. I really wanted to read, just to start with one, with a couple of tafsirs from 2, maybe 3 different books of tafsirs. Well, that juice be everything. Alhamdulillah. So, but I'm going to read a couple of ayats before it. This is in Surah 3, the family of Imran. The main ayat that I wanted to talk about was Surah 179. I mean, ayat 179. But I'm going to start with 176. So chapter 3, ayat number 176. And I'm going to use a all English Quran. So anybody want to look at it in a Quran or whatever. So it starts off, do not grieve for those who race to disbelieve. Just that alone, man. Because you might have Muslims. So when you familiar with hadiths where it say like at that moment that you committing that sin, you're in a state of disbelief. Right? You in a state of kufr at the moment that you're committing those sins. So when you see particular Muslims, family members, friends, whatever, right? Some you know, some you may not know. And you see them racing or rushing to do wrong, right? Or rejecting parts of the Quran, or rejecting hadiths. Like, sometimes you see people get into an argument, and they might look on like Islamic Q&A. If they come up with some dalil that they feel like fits them, alhamdulillah. But if they dalil doesn't fit them, oh, this ain't real, this ain't no good, like this dalil is garbage. You're supposed to accept it on both ends, whether it's for you or against you. So you'll see individuals want to pick and choose what part of the deen. When you throw that part of the deen that's real out and reject it because it go against you, that's kufr. Those forms of kufr. Not saying you're a kafir, but when you look at like the nullifiers of Islam, or some word that's the nullifiers of your shahada, some of these things is falling into forms of kufr. So when you see individuals rushing to this, it's telling you not to fall into grief where you feeling worse for them for what they doing to theyself. So it's saying don't fall into grief where you see these ones rushing to disbelief, rushing to sin, rushing to wrongdoing, right? Rushing to reject certain Quran ayats, rushing to reject certain hadiths. Try not to fall into like major grief about it. So Allah continues and says, surely they will not harm Allah in the least. It is Allah's will to disallow them a share in the hereafter. So they ruin in their own Jannah, right? So Allah is saying it's part of the hereafter that they won't even be allowed due to them rushing. And where you could put the word race, because you might see two individuals competing in wrongdoing. Like, let's say they hustle in the streets, one trying to get more money than the next. Or let's say one female is trying to get somebody else's husband, and they both doing it in impermissible ways. They rushing, competing to do these things. Or brothers, oh, I got 2 wives, okay, let me hurry up and get 3 to outdo you. But they doing it in impermissible ways, and the marriage isn't good, right? These things can get you certain aspects of the hereafter won't be allowed to you. That's where Allah is saying it's disallowed. Allah is Allah's will, and we know what Allah's will comes to pass. So it's Allah's will to disallow them a share in the hereafter, and they will suffer a tremendous punishment. 177. Those who trade belief for disbelief will never harm Allah in the least, and they will suffer a painful punishment. So that's Allah saying it twice, right? 178. Those who disbelieve should not think that living longer lives is good for them. They are only given more time to increase in sin. Imagine that. Imagine Allah leaving you on earth, allowing you more time to keep on doing wrong and falling into more sin, only so that you can harm yourself. You know what I mean? The wisdom of that, right? They are only given more time to increase in sin, and they will suffer a humiliating punishment. So we need to be mindful of this. You understand? We want to be on the right side of what Allah is telling us. Because, like, with me, I'm friends with a lot of Muslims in different places, right? Not to be funny. Egypt, Africa, India, and different parts of America, right? Philly, Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, more than just Philly, outside of Philly. Just, DC, the DMV as they call it. And I talk to a lot of Muslims, man, and the things that be paining me is this. If I talk to 10 Muslims in one day, I'm going to talk to 10 Muslims that's in bad situations. 10 Muslims in bad situations. Some worse than others. And you just think like, man, the Muslims, like, this shouldn't, like, we Muslim. You know what I'm saying? Allah blessed us with this deen. Like, what's to us? And I mean, seriously, man, and I'm not speaking from a place of judgment, but, and then like, and I'm not talking about like just here, or if I look on Facebook or social media where Muslims have pages, some of the comments and some of the posts, it's heartbreaking, man. And before I get to the main ayah that I wanted to, just to pause for a second, I remember, and it always stick to me, because I'm a person who became Muslim at the age of 13. I got my first Quran when I was 18. I be wanting to say 17, but 17 or 18. But although we didn't know how to really practice Islam properly, we knew how to carry ourselves in a different type of manner. But then as time went on, if it was one thing we knew, man, we knew to talk about the Quran, and we knew to talk about hadiths. And if somebody was a Muslim, it was salam alaikum. It wasn't none of that. What masjid you go to, who you listen to, what colors you wear. It was none of that. It was Muslim, man, salam alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. Dalil, hadiths. Not, well, my dude said this one said. You had your ones that was still like that, but they wasn't never really they weren't even into their Quran for real. But my thing was, there was a more form of righteousness there, or treating your brother with some respect. It wasn't this anger, heartfelt stuff towards another Muslim because they had things going on that you didn't, and they knew things that you didn't. This wasn't there. So I remember reading a hadith where, and it stuck to me, because I knew what I had came from. So when I got into hadiths, I was reading a hadith where the Rasul was saying a time was going to come that we was going to follow the non-believers inch by inch, so much so that if they went in a hole of a lizard, we would go in a hole of a lizard too. So slowly but surely we gonna get just like them. So I remember thinking to myself, now keep in mind, I'm from a Kafir country. So I grew up around all different variations of Christians in my family: Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal, and seeing people that were Seventh-day Adventists, and growing up with girls who were sanctified, so they only wore dresses even in the winter time. So you see all these different variations. But what I noticed was none of them knew their Bible. They went to church, heard what was said to them, and I noticed like some of the older, like our grandparents at that time in their 50s and 60s, and been Christian their whole life, born Christian, had never read the whole Bible from front to back. So I remember saying to myself, a day gonna come when the Muslims not gonna know their Quran. And that day has came. That day. But I really recognized that. I said that day, and this was in like 2003. This was literally 20 years ago when I thought that. And now I say around like 2010, I started to say, man, a lot of Muslims don't know their Quran. Like, you could tell them something that's directly from the Quran and it'd be like, that ain't in there. You know what I'm saying? But, so what I'm getting to, so I always reflect and ponder tadabbur on Quran ayats and on hadiths. So then I started to think to myself, because I still engage with a lot of, I'm in a Kafir country, so I work with non-Muslims, always have non-Muslim family. So what I started to realize is they don't even know how to be what their religion tell them, let alone read their book. They have been fed a whole lot of stuff that make them, that's tied into their religion, like celebrating Christmas and these things that don't have anything to do with their religion, but these is religious experiences to them. Go to church on Sundays, may watch a little church on TV or YouTube, just like we may listen to a little Islam, a football on YouTube. But the thing is, they don't know how to be what their religion tells them to when it's according to their book. So right now, it's nothing to bump. So for me realizing that, I'm starting to look at a day now and say, Muslims don't even know how to be Muslim. If you can walk up to a Muslim, I'm not saying everybody as a whole, but we getting there. You can go and ask a Muslim, how do you be Muslim? They might tell you something. Oh, you just be nice. You pray 5 times. You fast during Ramadan. Pay zakat. Go to Hajj if you can. That's the foundations of Islam. How do you be Muslim? How do you give your wife, your husband, your children, your Muslim friends, how do you give them their rights? Right? How do you give your rights to Allah? How do you treat your neighbors? How do you treat non-Muslims? How do you be Muslim? We fought, so just like them, they don't even know how to be Christian. Some of them don't even know how to be what their religion tell them to be, but they know certain little ritualistic aspects of it. We getting that way. You can see, especially here in America, you can see two Muslims fighting. You can see a Muslim woman and a Muslim man. Let's say they've been married for 30 days. 30 days. 27 out of those 30 days, they done fought and argued. Y'all can't know how to be Muslim. And y'all fighting and arguing almost every day. You don't know how to be Muslim. Let alone forget having what they want to call knowledge of the deen. What's this ruling? What's that ruling? And then when it comes to arguing, they want to look up certain things, right? And then they want to take what fits them and then throw away what proves them wrong. You're not truthful. You don't know how to be Muslim. You can have Muslim companions argue, fighting, hate on each other, undercut each other. You can't know how to be Muslim. We following them people inch by inch. If you just pay a close attention and look at it real closely from an Islamic point of view, a lot of Muslims don't know how to be Muslim no more. They don't. They don't. So let me get to the ayat to kind of break down the wisdom from Allah Azza wa Jal as to what's to some of this. Bismillah Allah Ta'ala. Excuse me. Man, that fresh juice be everything sometimes, man. I like that right there. Let me give me my little bump of that real quick. Alhamdulillah. And yes, I say Bismillah. And this is my right hand, just in case it looked like my left hand. But anyway, so right now, 179. Listen to what Allah tells us. Allah shall not leave the believers. It ain't saying Muslim. It's saying the believers, the mu'min, not the Muslim. See, all mu'mins are Muslims, but all Muslims aren't mu'min. Right? This isn't believers as in you believe Islam is the truth. These is mu'min, the category that Allah refers to as a believer, right? Allah will not leave the believer in the conditions they are in until he distinguish the good from the evil. Some translate where it has distinguished. Some use the word sift out or sort out. But Allah is going to make clear the difference between the good Muslims and the bad Muslims. And they use the word khabith. Like, khabith is like filth, nasty, disgusting. Like all type of, like, let's say you step on some dog feces in your yard. What you got on your shoe is going to be referred to as some khabith. So evil, wretched, hypocrite. Now keep in mind though, this is talking about Muslims, right? Allah not going to leave the believers in the condition they are in until He's distinguished the good from the evil amongst you. So you're gonna have some Muslims, man, that's on it, and you're gonna have some Muslims that not. And the conditions that we are in is all of this turmoil that's going on around us. Who's gonna be the right type of Muslim under these circumstances? I'm gonna get into a little bit of the tafsirs, right? So, nor will Allah directly reveal to you the unseen. So Allah isn't going to flat out say, this one's a hypocrite, this one's a bad Muslim, this one is a good Muslim, right? But when I touch the tafsirs, how it says, Allah put these tests and different things before us so that we can look at each other and say, something not right about this one. We not saying we ain't gonna flat out say, hey, I feel like you a hypocrite because you do some things I don't like. We know we can't do that. But sometimes there's hadiths that say if people have these categories, they're a hypocrite. And if they just have certain things from the hypocrite, if they just have certain traces of these things, then they have hypocrisy in them. There's different hadiths that show people who do these and this, that, they have some hypocrisy in them. They might not be a full-blown hypocrite, but they have some hypocrisy in their deen. Right? So, Allah not going to flat out reveal it like that. And then it says, but Allah chooses whoever He wills as a messenger. So believe in Allah and His messenger. So we're just going to our times, you gotta stick to the Quran and them hadiths, the sunnah of His messenger. Because we don't have a messenger in front of us. But we got his whole life laid out in biographies and hadiths. You can't reject those hadiths, man. And then it says, and if you are faithful and mindful, if you faithful and have taqwa of Allah, you will receive the great reward. So all this stuff that be going on and we looking at it, even minor situations in a marriage, minor situations at the masjid, who gonna sit down and be Muslim and try to rectify these affairs? Or who's going to go with their desires and keep arguing and keep fighting and keep bickering and keep harboring stuff in their heart? You see what I'm saying? Like, you look at some of these situations and you just have to be honest, man. Some people don't know how to be Muslim. Look, let me look at pull out a little bit of Tafsir Sa'di, because I don't want this video to get too long, right? So, just on this ayah, right, look. It says, by Allah's wisdom, Allah does not leave the believers as they are, mixed with the hypocrites, with no distinction between the two groups. So you're going to be able to distinguish, regardless of what you call each other, you're going to be able to distinguish the two. All right? You're going to be able to distinguish the two. Now look what it says. Let me read that again. Allah does not leave the believers as they are, mixed with the hypocrites. Years ago I used to refer to this as the great separation, because I used to be around this brother all the time. He's still my brother to this day. I just kind of regressed to my cubby hole. So I'm not really around many people these days, and I don't really have a lot of conversations with people these days, but it's nothing personal. But when I used to talk to him, man, and things be going on, I used to tell him, man, it's the great separation, man. Allah putting us in positions, man, and situations going on to where the good Muslims is going to start to be easily distinguished from the bad ones, man. You got to choose your companions wisely. Some of these marriages and stuff, they gonna start to go, you know, how long is a good woman gonna be in a marriage with a bad guy who has no intentions on changing? How long is a good guy gonna stay married to a bad woman? You understand? Things is gonna start to, or if they do stay together, you're gonna be able to distinctly distinguish the difference between them and their Islam. Allah is telling us this. So look what it says. Allah does not lead the believers as they are, mixed with the hypocrites, with no distinction between the two groups. Rather, He distinguishes the evil from the good. Right? Also, the believer from the hypocrite. Also, the sincere from the insincere. Allah is doing it. Allah doing it. Right? So check it out. Nor is it in accordance with His wisdom to disclose to His slaves matters of the unseen concerning what He knows about them. His great wisdom dictated that He should test His slaves with various trials which will distinguish the evil from the good. Subhanallah Adhim. What side you gonna be on when the fitna hit? That's why with me and everything that go on, you can have it. I ain't finna argue. I ain't finna debate. I ain't finna feel no type of way. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna go back and forth. I'm not gonna bicker. Cool. You can have it. Whatever the argument is, you want it. Even if it's got something to do with the deen. Lakum dinakum walaya deen. Like, you gonna do what you wanna do, and I'm gonna continue to do what I do. You go your way, and I'll do mine, man. Salam alaikum, wa alaikum salam. No ill feelings on my end. And I'm through with it. You can have it. My neighbor, if I have a bad neighbor and they want to put trash all in my yard, or, you know, be out, play loud music, be disruptive, or feel some type of way, you can have it. I'm going to be who I'm supposed to be, whether they Muslim or non-Muslim. You see what I'm saying? I know Muslims. Let me, cause I spoke on that. I got this a book of hadith I'm studying, right? And I just looked at this last week, so I know I got it bookmarked. Just give me just 1 second, man, to touch this, right? Look at this hadith. This was in Sahih Muslim. A person whose neighbor is not secure from their evil designs or the stuff that they got going on shall not enter heaven. Right? Shall not enter heaven. I done seen people bicker and trip with their neighbor and act a fool. I done even seen people argue and get ready to fight with their neighbors, and they're Muslim, over stuff that means nothing. Not even understanding this can cause you to not get into Jannah. So as I'm speaking about this stuff, man, that's why, man, once you understand these trials and tests, is to distinguish the Muslims. Like as it says, the believer from the hypocrite, the evil from the good, and the sincere from the insincere. Right? So look what it says, though. You know what I'm saying? So, man, that don't mean like I'm just finna bow down and lay down to somebody. I'm gonna put myself in. I'm gonna do my best, and I ask Allah to always not test me with that. But I'm not gonna entertain a situation that can even lead to me and another brother, or even if they not Muslim, even having a conversation that leads to us wanting to put our hands on each other. Because whatever the conversation is about, you can have it. You feel what I'm saying? Whether that make me soft, whether that make me this, whatever. Because I'm listening to what Allah is saying. And I'm seeing how Allah is saying all this. Some of them, like when we started off with the ayahs, you look at 378. Some of them is only Allah's allowing them more time to keep up with all that misbehaving, just so that they can get even greater punishment in the hereafter. The ayahs before that, the ones who moving in this way, racing to be that type of a person, falling into these things that has no place in Islam, Allah's going to disallow them parts of the hereafter. In certain aspects of, not saying, like, for instance, Jannah has levels. And let's say you feel like you're going to Jannah. You might keep yourself from reaching the highest level of Jannah. There's certain parts of the hereafter that's not going to be allowed to you. Like, it blows my mind. Like, right now, I bump into Muslims, man, and not none of them. The aspects of the hellfire doesn't even apply to them. The simple fact that they took Shahada, they automatically go to Jannah. Man, I would love to be able to think that way. But I don't. I even read about companions, man, that was on a deathbed. And they used to say stuff like, I wish that I was something that an animal ate and came out the other side than to go meet Allah. They wasn't like, I'm glad I'm on my way out of here. I'm on my way to Jannah, man. No, they said they wish that they was something that an animal ate, went through the body, digested in the stomach, and came out the other end. That's what they would rather be than to go meet Allah. Because they feared that fire. But now, Muslims, Jahannam? You kidding me? Man, I took Shahada, man. Jannah is mine. Or they talk like the Jews. Oh, I'm good, man. If I do go to hell, I'll only be there for a little while. I took Shahada. We need therapy. We need therapy. But, I mean, it's amazing to me. Of course, I don't sit down and, but it's amazing to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Alhamdulillah. Let me finish this, right? So like I said, his wisdom, is not in accordance with Allah to disclose it's not in accordance with Allah's wisdom to disclose to his slaves matters of the unseen concerning what he knows about them. His great wisdom dictate that he should test his slaves with various trials which will distinguish the evil from the good. So Allah sent his messenger and enjoined people to obey them, follow them, and believe in them, and he promised them a great reward in return for believing and guarding against evil. So like me, when I tell a person they can have it, whether they right, whether they wrong, whatever the situation is, you can have it. That's my way of guarding myself against evil. I want my Jannah, man. I'm trying to get there, right? But listen to this. Thus, people are divided according to whether they follow the messengers into two groups, obedient and disobedient. Subhanallah Adhim. Believers and hypocrites. You obedient believer. You disobedient might be a hypocrite by these words. You feel what I'm saying? Muslims and disbelievers, so that on this basis they will be rewarded or punished. Like I said in the beginning, when you look at everything, we know that we being tested. So you look at the test as either you pass or you fail. When you pass, it comes with rewards. When you fail, it comes with punishments. So what Allah says, Muslim, so you got your groups, right? Muslims and disbelievers, so that on this basis they will be rewarded or punished, and so as to make manifest his justice, grace, and wisdom to his creation. And we know Allah is not going to make no mistakes. And we know everything is going to be recorded because we got angels right with us recording what we're talking about and what we're doing. When you know about the shift change is what I refer to them as. You got the angels that come down, and when they come down for Fajr, you got the angels that's leaving. So the angels that was watching you through the night, and let's say you all night long you fighting with another Muslim, you fighting with your neighbor, you fighting with your husband, you fighting with your kids over something trivial, something that Islam told you how to fix, right? Something simple. All you had to do was go to Quran and Sunnah, problem solved. But because we don't know how to be Muslim, we banging. I want my leg back. I'm bickering beef. Nah, I didn't like the way you did me. I can't let it go. And then you don't even have, sometimes individuals' argument be based off of speculation. You don't even have 100% proof of what you're talking about in order to be fighting. You got to have proof wholeheartedly before you drive down and start fighting and bickering with a Muslim, no matter how you feel. So like it even say, even like in a marriage, when it comes to if somebody was cheating, if you accuse that person of doing it and there's not enough witnesses, what does the deen say about the husband or the wife that does that? You don't even have proof. Oh man, her phone rang. She probably messing with the neighbor. You know what I'm saying? Now, based off of what you done put in your head, and you might be right. Maybe your intuitions is correct, but maybe Shaitan playing with your head too. And now y'all arguing for a whole week based off of something you think that you don't even have no proof for. And vice versa. Oh, he done took his phone in the bathroom. He might be on there playing chess or spades or one of those little video games where they popping bubbles and bricks busting. He might be in a bathroom playing a video game on his phone. Oh, he took his phone in the bathroom. That's probably the big booty girl that be at his job. And now it's a whole week worth of arguing off of a speculation when Islam say you can't do that. I want my marriage to be fixed, and I want Allah to bless it with all this arguing and bickering over speculations. That sound backwards, don't it? I want my marriage fixed, and I want Allah to bless it by fighting with this Muslim every single day of the week over something that I feel with no proof. Then it turns into the Let's go look for this. Now everybody do research. Well, this is the opinion of, this is the opinion of, this scholar said, that scholar said. Quran and Sunnah say what y'all doing, y'all shouldn't even be doing. What about that? But nobody want to do that because that's too much like being Muslim. You see what I'm saying? This is what our hearts desire. This is what we incline to. Man, let them have it, man. Allah, if that person is in the wrong, Allah gonna handle that. They not gonna get away with nothing. Why ruin your Jannah? If that's what they own, make dua to Allah to rectify the situation, and you keep being the best Muslim, male or female. If you feel like your wife is out there cheating, you don't have no proof. You want to start digging through phones, you want to do all this, you make dua to Allah, make istikhara, and then ask Allah to reveal to you what's clear and rectify the situation. Allah, expose this for me. If this is a marriage that's going to lead me to the hellfire, bring it to an end. If I'm married to somebody that I shouldn't be married to, Allah, take it away from me. Bless me with something better. Even if that's something better, and this is what some people need to get in their mind. You might be in a horrible marriage. You might be in another horrible marriage. Another horrible marriage. And then you keep asking Allah to bless you with something better. Some people haven't realized sometimes that something better is no one. Sometimes that something better is you by yourself. Because one thing about it, you might not be 100% of the problem. You might be 50% of it. You might be 30% of it. But your 30% might what have caused it all to be a problem. So Allah is telling us, man, a lot of these situations, so you sit down and personalize it. You got to be able to break the deen down to your life. You look at your personal situations, whether you at work, some fitness start to arise. I feel like this situation might lead to this, it might lead to that. I'm being tested. Let me pass this test. Let me be Muslim and do what this situation calls for me to do. Because a deen doesn't leave any stones unturned. The answer to every last thing is in the deen of Islam. You may not think so because you probably don't know the deen. Because there's ayahs where Allah says people who walk a certain type of way on this earth and carry themselves a certain type of way on this earth, Allah turn them away from all of his ayats. So you could read the whole entire Quran and none of it sinks in. If that's what Allah chooses for you. Be Muslim, man. Sit back and be Muslim. The one who gives up arguing, what? The one who gives up arguing and debating is guaranteed a house in Jannah. Anybody ever worked on a house in Jannah? I remember one time, man, a Muslim was talking to me about something, man, and I told him, man, because he seen me doing certain things, and I told him, man, I'm working on a library for my house in Jannah. What would you need a library for? You know what I'm saying? Ain't no such thing. Yeah, you must not know about Jannah. I'm working on a library for my house in Jannah. What do you need a library for? So I can study Islam. You know what I'm saying? So I can study Islam. You don't know about Jannah. What if you end up on level 2 of Jannah? And then there's things that you could do in Jannah to get to level 3 or level 4. But this is just something that I like to do. Like what? Jannah is a very, it's forever. What do you think you want to do in Jannah, man? Go have a beer and play some cards? hit up the women on Facebook And Instagram, have you ever even thought about if you get to Jannah, what you gonna do? Whew, I'm just happy to stand in this one spot and I ain't in the fire. What you gonna do with your time? I want a library. And wallahi, this is just me, man. Of course, I want all the other stuff. My mind ain't like, yeah, Jannah, yeah, everything, man. I'm going to ride around Jannah in the Phantom Rolls Royce that I couldn't get on Earth. Get to Jannah and throw me on the big juries and ride around in a Rolls Royce Phantom. Like, what do you think you're going to do in Jannah, man? Sit around and eat chicken all day long, like the chicken you never had on Earth? Like, this look like chicken, but it tastes like the best lamb chop. I want a library. I'm working on a library, man. I want to meet, like I said, and like, you know, some people thought this was strange. I said, if I get to Jannah, the first person I want to meet is Abu Dhar. You know what I'm saying? Rasulullah, yeah. I love Rasulullah more, but Abu Dhar, I want to sit down. I want to be Abu Dhar friend. I want to sit down and walk around with Abu Dhar, man. And Abu Dhar, man, like tell me about, man, like what it was like for y'all, man. Like, wow, what's in you that made you such a soldier like you is? You know what I'm saying, man? Let's go over Surah Baqarah. You know, they had these books on tafsirs, man. You know, some of the translate. Was this how you worded this at that time? I want to talk to Abu Dhar. That's what I'm working on, man. Abu Dhar is going to be raised alone. Okay? Listen to this. Abu Dhar going to be raised alone. Rasulullah passed before Abu Dhar. So Abu Dhar lived for some time knowing he going to be raised alone because Rasulullah said he was going to be raised alone. You think he was like, man, I'm going to be raised alone. I'm already good. Like how we do. I'm good. I got my shahada. No, man, that man kept his deen spectacular. So, you know, not to go into a tangent, man, but just to touch a little tafsirs on that, man. Be mindful, man. All of this is so that Allah can, whatever going on, so that Allah can separate the evil Muslims from the good ones, the mu'min from the hypocrites. You feel what I'm saying? The sincere from the insincere. Also, so that we can recognize what's in front of us. Because you can judge what's apparent, but make sure the proof is there. You ain't got to call nobody nothing, but you can deal with people accordingly so that you can save your Jannah, so you can get as much of the hereafter that's out there for you. If you want to be up there in Rolls Royce Phantoms and eating a whole camel, that's like in my head. I want to be in Jannah, man, chilling with Abu Dhar, discussing the deen, roasting a whole camel. I ain't even never ate camel. You know what I'm saying? Because I know they used to eat camel, man. Let's roast us a whole camel, man, with some, you know, this how y'all season it, this how we seasoned it. You know what I'm saying? Let me sprinkle a little bit of hood on it. I just refer to it as hood. This some hood camel. That'd be a beautiful, you know what I'm saying? With some night sky, I'm roasting a whole camel with Abu Dhar, some other Muslims, man. Listen to him telling me about what it was like walking the streets, man, with the Rasul and the things they was going to. Of course I want to meet the Rasul, of course. You know what I'm saying? Who don't? But I really want to sit down and chop it up with Abu Dhar. But my bad for going too long, man. And any mistakes I made or You know, little slips in the tongue came from myself and the shaitan. Anything I said that was correct came from Allah Azza wa Jal, Al-Muqtadir wal Alim. And the tafsir I read from was Asati. And I was going to do a little Ibn Kathir, and this is a good one too, Tafsir Qurtubi. They give a little bit more detail, but Tafsir Sa'di kind of brings all of the tafsirs together and make them plain and worded for understanding for the practical Muslim. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I just touched that. You know what I'm saying? Without having to use all these hadiths. Like Ibn Kathir going to use different hadiths and different ayats to bring it to a point. Tafsir Sa'di just, and then Qurtubi is going to bring like this companion, this companion, this companion. This one said this. It might be about 10, 15 companions, their point of view on it, what the Rasul said. Real detail about these Quran ayats. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May Allah bless everybody, bless their families, bless us all with the highest levels of Jannah. And anybody who's sick or not feeling well, may Allah bless us all with shifa, a speedy recovery, and help us all to grow in this deen, and help us actually learn how to have the actions of a Muslim at least 90% of the time, to allow us to be Muslims in practice, more than just praying 5 times and fasting. Muslims on every aspect of the deen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.